Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is the first story for my channel, The Forced Marriage with the Werewolf Prince. Chapter 1, The Cross Connection. Every person present in the courtroom stood up and bowed their heads in respect as the werewolf prince Daniel Rodriguez made his way to the throne. His younger sister Ariel smiled at him from the throne situated beside him as he took a seat. Ariel was the queen of werewolves and he was her elder brother. Considering the fact that the she-wolves of the royal family were stronger and consisted the power passed on by the moon goddess to every first daughter, Ariel had been the sweetest queen ever, unlike her brother who had become the man that everyone would fear. "Let's begin the court," Ariel commanded with a smile. The minister, who carried a bunch of papers obtaining the arising conflicts in the kingdom, stepped ahead and bowed his head before speaking. "Your Highness, the kingdom is in peace. The conflict regarding vampires and werewolves have been sorted. All the alphas have agreed to keep their peace with vampires, except one." The middle-aged man paused and not a second later. "Who's the alpha that dares to disrespect our rules?" Daniel asked, gaining his courtiers' attention. His appearance calm like usual, but they knew otherwise. The minister cowered in fear, and the moment his eye met the prince's, Alpha Anthony Gonzalez, he shuddered. "Oh, I'll look into the matter," Daniel informed his sister, getting up from his seat before walking out of the courtroom without any word. Ariel dismissed the court politely and followed her brother outside. Walking beside her brother in silence, she remembered about what had made her brother into the man he is now. She knew her brother really well. For others, Daniel might seem like an arrogant man who didn't care for others' feelings, but she knew deep inside was her brother who once used to be the light of the palace. His playful attitude and caring personality used to make everyone around him happy. He was such a nice man until his mates came into his life and tattered his heart in pieces, not once but twice. "I will never forgive the woman who made my brother away from me." Ariel vowed in her head. "What's it, Ariel? You seem to be in a deep thought." Daniel turned to look at his sister. "Nothing. I was wondering what you'll do to make the alpha agree." She lied, knowing that her brother would be upset if she told what she was thinking. "I am going to make him pay for disrespecting the rules." Daniel looked at his sister, frowning. "Don't worry, I won't kill him," he assured, smiling at his sister as she nodded in approval. "She is always concerned about everyone," Daniel thought. "When are James and Cammy returning?" He inquired about Ariel's maid and daughter who had visited to the other town for a fair. "They'll return back before midnight. James will have to buy half of the stalls for Hammy. She can be very demanding when taken to a fair." A smile rose on her lips at the mention of her daughter's name. Ariel's 6-year-old daughter, like every other child, was very stubborn and wanted every single thing she laid her eyes on. The last time they went for a play, Cammy wanted the actors to stay with her and cried all the way back to home. At last, Daniel ended up inviting the actors for lunch. "Good. Next time I'll arrange for the fair in our town so I can buy my niece everything she needs, Daniel suggested. You're spoiling her, Danny. Ariel shook her head at her brother. One of the guards interrupted their conversation as he bowed his head before looking up at the prince. Your Highness, you ask for Alpha Anthony Gonzalez's pack's location. Daniel nodded for the guard to continue. Alpha stays at the western part of Iris. Iris was the werewolf kingdom, while the kingdom of Veneton belonged to the vampires. Humans stayed in both the kingdom, but were mostly found in Iris due to lesser threat from vampires who hunted humans for their blood. Prepare the carriage, we shall head there tomorrow, he ordered. A week ago, eastern part of Iris. Tucking her hair behind her ears as she plucked the roses from the plant, Ariana hummed a song she had recently heard in an opera. The buzzing sound of the bell snapped her out of her little trance. She placed the roses in the table and rushed to attend the person at the door. Her father entered the moment she opened the door. She was surprised. For once, he didn't stumble past the door the way he always does after getting into a drinking fit with his fellow friends. Make food for 3. We have guests for the evening, she heard her father say, more like order her as she shut the door. So that's the reason he isn't drunk, because we are having guests, Ariana thought. Why was she still here and not left her father at his own? It was because of her father that her mother killed herself. It was because of him that she didn't have the normal life of a werewolf. But still, at the end of the day, he was her father and she couldn't do anything about it. It's not like she could escape either. She had tried to run once, only to fail miserably when her father caught her and hit her for doing so. The evening approached near while the day was spent in thinking, cleaning, and preparing the food for the guests. She heard the bell ring. Her footsteps made a beeline to the door, but her father stopped her before she could open the door. I'll open the door. You go and get the meal. She nodded like she always did and walked to the kitchen to get the food. Nice to see you, Peyton. Ariana heard the voice of a man greeting her father. For some reason, the voice made her wolf howl in happiness. Ariana wanted to ask her wolf about what made her happy, but it's not like her wolf would reply anyways. Unlike the other werewolves, she had lost contact with her wolf the day her mother died. Ariana had tried to talk to her wolf, but she never replied. Picking up the dishes she had just filled the food on, she made her way to the dining room where the guests were present. Ariana's gaze fixated on the mahogany table, avoiding any eye contact with the guest as she placed the dishes on the table. Care to introduce the young lady, Python? She heard the same husky voice ask. Ah, that's my daughter Ariana, Alpha Anthony. Python sipped into his tea. Ariana looked up to meet the pair of dark brown eyes staring back at her. It seems like the time had stopped and all she could do was stare at him. Her wolf jumped with the untold happiness. She saw a smirk appear on the handsome man's face as he took a puff of the cigar that he held in his hand. Looks like I found my mate, Python. Anthony spared a glance at Ariana's father, whose eyes looked like it would bulge out of their sockets any minute. Pack your things, girl, Anthony said to Ariana in an authoritative voice. His voice missed any trace of sincerity and love that she had expected her mate would talk to her in. "We are leaving for Iris to my pack house," he announced in his alpha tone, leaving no room for an argument. Ariana followed Anthony without a word, unaware of the situation she was going to get stuck up in and the person she was about to meet. Chapter 2: Falling into the Trap. Present day. Ariana Christopher's point of view. It's been a week since I found my mate and shifted to his pack house. I always thought my mate would be the one to get me out of the misery that I carried all my life, but looks like I am always meant to be unfortunate. My mate is my mate, except he beds other women, makes out with them in front of me, and treats me like I'm some slave, just the way my father used to treat me. He does show a bit of affection, like he always allows me to sleep on bed, unlike back at my father's house. He used to make me sleep on the cold floor, and the alpha doesn't bother me until I do all the work in the pack house. So I guess that's fine with me. At last, I'm not abused. And I did make a few friends, like the rug girl Flavia, who works in the stables, and Giovanni, the beta of this pack. Unlike the alpha, my mate, and the pack members who avoided me like a plug, the beta was kind to all of us and spoke to me in a friendly manner since I was his alpha's mate. At the present, I was watering the plants when I saw Giovanni walk out of the alpha's office with a frown on his face. "Where are you going?" Maximus the Delta asked, trailing behind him. "How can the alpha just leave and let us handle the prince? Why doesn't he just agree to the truce? Why mess up with the royals? Doesn't he know that they are quite capable and powerful to make us bow in front of them? Why do you think the werewolf prince is visiting us today? To have a little chit-chat over tea? No. He's going to freaking threaten the whole pack just because of the alpha." Giovanni raises his hands in the air in frustration. Maximus places a hand on Giovanni's shoulder. "I understand, but we cannot do anything, for we are not the alpha, and we can do nothing but to prepare ourselves for the worst and welcome the prince." Giovanni nodded in accordance, and just a moment after that, I heard a commotion near the entrance as a really handsome man made his way into the pack house. There were a lot of guards trailing behind him. I noticed that everyone around him became still and bowed their heads in respect to this man. The man nodded to them before making his way toward Giovanni and Maximus, who stood at the farther corner with terrified looks on their faces. His footstep halted just in front of me, and he turned his head in my direction. I felt my heart beat quicken with fear, so what was to become as his handsome stranger stared at me. This man, he was really good looking. He was carved into perfection. Pale skin, high cheekbones, dark black hair that was neatly combed behind his head, pink plush lips, well-refined body, not too muscular, not too lean either, and smoldering ocean blue eyes that would make you lost in their depths. I couldn't make my eyes of this stranger while he gave me a cold look and asked, "Who are you?" "What?" I blinked my eyes several times in order to make sense of the words he spoke. And when the question finally sinked in, I thought of what to answer to him. I wasn't a pack member, and my father is from the pack of Eastern Iris. I could say that I was the alpha's mate, but I guess he wouldn't believe me. Why? Well, there are two reasons. One, when I had When I said to the pack members about me being the alpha's mate, no one believed it and just laughed it off, telling I wasn't of alpha's taste, and I was like a dirt whom the alpha wouldn't think twice before throwing out. And second, in my correct state, I looked no less than a servant with the tattered clothes and water mug in my hands. I was shuddering. I didn't have any idea of what to say. She's Ariana Alpha Antony's mate, Your Highness. Giovanni was quick to answer the question. I gave him a thankful smile. In return, he nodded with a smile. Your Highness. My eyes widened visibly. Does that mean he is the... Oh, my lord. He is the werewolf prince. The cold and heartless Prince Daniel Rodriguez. Prince Daniel stared at me for a moment before he spoke coldly. Great, he said with a lack of enthusiasm. Tell the Alpha that as his punishment for disobeying the royal agreements, I'll marry his mate. If he doesn't agree to the truce soon enough, then it will be his mate who will suffer. With that, he reached me in 3 strides and grabbed my wrist in a harsh grip. As he pulled me out of the pack house, leaving all of the pack members utterly shocked.